We found out we were pregnant in the fall of 2014, and we were excited and surprised a little bit because we had had a very long course with our first child, our son. He was born at 23 weeks gestation, unexpectedly, and obviously was very ill for a long time after he was born. And so when we found out we were pregnant for the second time, we were elated, but we were also worried, kind of from the outset because of what had happened with our first pregnancy. And so we were really closely followed by doctors the whole time, from basically week 4 gestation on. And I had a really nice and normal pregnancy, and things were going along fine. The primary concern was whether or not I was going to go into preterm labor. There really weren't any other concerns at that along the way. And so in the end of February, I started to feel like what I now know was my daughter wasn't moving very much. I was over 6 months along, and so we had made it further along than we had when my son was born, and thus I think we kind of thought we were out of the woods. In fact, I know that's how I felt. And so we went to an appointment, and I had been feeling like my daughter wasn't moving very much. And I mentioned that, but they found a heartbeat right away. And so I felt great, and all was well, and there was nothing further that we needed to do. The very next day, I went for my final appointment with the neonatal specialist or perinatologist that I was following with. And my husband came to that appointment too, and we were in the room, and they first wanted to ensure that my cervix still looked strong, and it did. And so we cheered and thought, great, this is our last appointment with the perinatologist. We are in the clear, and even if he comes early or she comes early, we have dealt with that before, and now the pregnancy was further along. And so then they moved to my belly to do the full ultrasound, and I knew something was funny because after a minute or two, which is a long time, 2 minutes just quietly sitting there, she asked me when the last time I felt her move was. And because I had had a heartbeat the day before, I think I wasn't paying a lot of attention to it. And so it turned out that they couldn't find a heartbeat, and sometime between Monday and Tuesday, for no reason that anybody knew, she died. And so I think that when you're told that, even someone who was aware of potential complications, this was not the complication we expected, and it was shocking. It was just very shocking. And so in that moment, I don't think that I remember very much. I don't remember very much. I just sort of remember after having to plan for how we were going to deliver her. And I think that was very difficult. I will say that I think I was really lucky to be at a hospital and with people, providers, doctors, nurses, who were really, really supportive and gave me and my family, my husband, tools right away to try to cope and deal with this. The trouble is, in that moment and in that time, you don't know what you need or kind of how to feel better, I don't think, because it's so shocking and it's very difficult to process. And for me, one of the worst parts of the experience was actually having to go to the hospital to deliver a baby that isn't alive. And so I'm sure many women who've been through this struggle with that particular part of the journey. And mine was a little complicated, actually. For someone who had gone into preterm labor, you might have expected my daughter, her name was Marin, to come quickly, but it didn't go quickly. I was in labor for 2.5 days before she came. And I think that was awful too. Labor isn't fun no matter what, but when you're doing it to bring into the world a child that's not alive, I think it's particularly difficult. So seeing her when she was born was both, I think, a little peaceful because she was beautiful, and also a little bit confusing because nothing appeared wrong. And so I think sometimes you want an answer, and not knowing has also been a very difficult part of this journey for me. I like to have an answer, a diagnosis, knowing why this had to happen, and there isn't an answer. So I think as time passes, I don't know whether it gets easier or not. I think that in the immediate postpartum period or post-delivery period, it's sort of expected that you grieve, and we did, and I did, and my husband did. But I feel as though I don't know how to feel now, 6 months later, or if there's a healthier way to cope and deal. I've been fortunate to have good support, family and friends, and my husband is very giving and very understanding. He wasn't distant, didn't seem to have difficulty, so that's wonderful. But I went to an event yesterday, a race to honor stillbirth and pregnancy loss, and I was very surprised at how emotional I was. Really, I'm not even sure what it is, or what spurs it, or any part of that. And so as I move further along from the loss, I'm struggling a little bit to sort out what will help me feel better, or whether I should do more to honor her, or less, or I don't know. I'm kind of at a funny point, I think, in the journey. And so that's where I am now.